Hi pals, it's me again, Artie, they them pronouns only. And this is the video about my MRI. And let's just say it did not go according to plan. So I'm going to talk through my general experience of this time for like the first part of the video, and then towards the end I'm going to talk about some like helpful tips as well to remember, think about, ask, etc., to try and make your experience of MRIs as easy as possible. Okay, so yeah, I had a few clips filming some of the stuff I was going through. I'm very bad at food vlogging, so I literally got one meal. Basically because it was a small bowel MRI, the day before I had to go on like a special restricted diet. I forgot to film my lunch because I ate it because I was hungry. But it was 2 poached eggs on 2 bits of white toast. Oh my god, Layla. You could have just said something, you silly dog. And then I had a packet of crisps, which were not potato based, so I probably shouldn't have eaten those actually, and I didn't realise, but never mind. It's not that much fibre if I stop there. That's the last packet anyway, so. My last meal ended up being very dry mashed potato with a bit of margarine and a can of tuna. I was gonna put mayo with it, but our mayo that comes in a big pot technically has dairy products in, so I wasn't sure whether I could get away with that for the MRI. So I had a really dry dinner, and I've just remembered we have sachets of like little packets from other places that I could have probably used instead, and now I'm a bit pissed because that was the last thing I ate. 3:30 in the afternoon, and it is now like 10 to 8 p.m. I have also had a miso soup, which I'm hoping will be fine because it's a mostly clear, not super fibre rich soup broth, and I needed something savoury because everything I'd eaten today, it was savoury, just didn't do it because I wasn't allowed half the things I can eat with it. And that's like the big issue with doing a lot of these tests, is that if you have a limited diet or a diet different to like the society norm in the UK, they don't have any special instructions for you or like guidance, like even as basic as like milk alternatives. You're not supposed to have dairy during this, but you're also not supposed to have fibre. So which ones, which like vegan alternatives are actually possibly consumable? But I don't regularly buy anything outside of lactose-free milk, but I might have done because they say, oh, you can eat Rice Krispies or cornflakes, but you can't have dairy. And you're like, what am I eating the cornflakes with? What am I eating the cornflakes with? Oh, I did also have some jelly after the 4 o'clock time because it's clear. I'm sure it's fine. I'm alright for the moment. I'm not really hungry at the moment, like right now. But I am a bit concerned. I might get hungry as I go to bed. Oh my god, but after I've got to suffer like this until like midday tomorrow. I can't eat tomorrow either. Can somebody tell them I have POTS? Somebody say I have dysautonomia. I need to eat my food, please. Yeah, I'm still feeling very anxious about the cannula thing. I'm hoping it'll just be a lot. I'm just hoping it'll be fine. I can't find my joggers I was going to wear. I think I put them out for donation and forgot that I actually find them useful for MRIs because I don't have any other thick joggers that don't have like metal on them. So I'm going in leggings. Hopefully those are fine. because everything else will be metal free. I'm also just I'm not sure what like jumper situation to wear, so I'm just like not enjoying. I'm really like, my brain is just kind of spinning on everything, trying to like iron out all the details and yeah, rehearsing those moments. And now I don't know, my mum might be coming with me. I thought she wasn't, but now she might be. I have no idea. It just seems like a waste of time for her to come with me, you know, but also I would appreciate I am baby. I am baby. So I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully it will be okay. I suppose we'll see how easy cannulating my hand was and how that felt. Maybe I'll become a hand cannula girly. Probably not. I would appreciate it if my body would give me some extra veins to use, please, though, because I've had enough. I've had enough, mate. I'm 28. I need some more veins to last me a few more years, you know? Anyway, I'm gonna keep lying down and being sad. It was, yeah, very restrictive. It was a no fibre or as low as possible fibre. No dairy. A lot of the staples of what I eat in a day unfortunately involves dairy or fibre. But it was a tiny bit easier this time versus the other times I've had to do it, because that was when I was a very like strict vegetarian, whereas this time I'm a flexible pescatarian. I had lots of squash and water, and I also ended up like sucking on clear boiled sweets for a while, because I was just like, I just needed to do something, you know. And they say you can have all of your usual medications, so I took everything that evening that I would usually take, and in the morning I think I had like 3 nightmares that night. One of them included being called before I even had the MRI to tell me that I needed to go in for surgery, because like I don't even know what I don't remember what they were saying in this nightmare, but they were basically saying that there's no time for a small bowel MRI, you need surgery right now because there's something terribly wrong with like your colon or what the fuck ever. So I woke up earlier as well than usual. I set an alarm, but I'm experimenting with soundless alarms that only make like a vibrating noise, so that was much more chill than most alarms are. But yeah, I think I was up at 7:30 to be drinking more water, taking my meds, getting myself ready. I changed my outfit like 3 times, but in the end it was whatever I was wearing was fine, so we had no issues there, at least, because I hate taking off clothes, taking off my bra, wearing the gowns. Like, just leave me alone, you know. It's just one of them things that makes me feel a little bit better, is remaining in my clothes. So yeah, this scan it's a little bit different than the original time I've had this before, because before I remember it having IV buscopan, but apparently now they also do IV contrast called gadolinium. It's a contrast injection. It's not always put in right away. One of the points it says on this like little sheet is that they might put it in partway through. That's happened a few times with other MRIs I've had done, is that so they can get like a range of different images and different things can kind of show up with different kinds of dye and whatever. I think for my last MRI that was for like my aorta and stuff, they put the cannula in, but I don't think they put the dye in until they'd done like 1 set of imaging already. There are side effects for contrast dyes as well as the buscopan. On here it says with the contrast, obviously it's the pain where the cannula is, nausea, vomiting, itching, rash, headache, paresthesia, in brackets abnormal skin sensation. such as a prickling, burning or tingling. Fun. And then with Buscopan, which is an antispasmodic, apparently not on the stuff that I have here, but I know one of them is blurred eyesight, which is why they tell you not to drive to and from this scan. Then you also have to have a drink called mannitol, which on its own is really not fun, but it's not as bad as Moviprep. It kind of just tastes like sweet plastic. So the first time I had a small bowel MRI, it was really difficult because it's gross. It's not fun. But where I get my MRIs most often, always put in a squash. And honestly, you wouldn't even be able to tell that it's not just water. And you have to drink that over the course of like 45 minutes to an hour. They sort of recommend to drink a cup every 5 minutes. So you have to sort of keep checking the time and making sure you drink like one of them little plastic hospital like cups. And that's to expand everything inside to help you see everything. And also this one has the very fun side effect after your MRI of giving you horrific diarrhea. If you've never been to have a small bowel MRI before, I've never had this stuff, I definitely recommend sticking around for a while afterwards, or like finding a bathroom that you can use like ASAP, because in the past for me it has happened literally straight after I've had the scan. This time round it was a little bit delayed, but then it lasted literally all day, and honestly my stomach is still not quite right, and I'm recording this on Friday from this happening on Tuesday. But yeah, the Buscopan is to minimize movement in the bowel muscles and improve the quality of the images, but you have to be careful with that if you've got or are suspected of glaucoma, acute coronary syndrome and protastism. Oh yeah, occasionally it can cause blurring of vision for a few hours, so do not drive or operate heavy machinery. You know, that sort of energy. And the dye highlights the blood supply and gives the doctors more information regarding the images for your scan. So what happened, Artie? What happened with your experience this time? Some of my clips will have said I've been preparing a lot of things to try and make this as easy and seamless as possible. So having my first small bowel MRI in like 3.5 years, a lot of things have changed a little bit. They now do IV Buscopan as well as some more dye, and not just the dye in the drink they give you. So I just had to ring and double check some things because there was a lot of emphasis on renal / kidney function, and I had a lot of issues when I was a child, but I haven't really had any since, so I just never really know when it's appropriate to bring up. So I just wanted to double check that, and they said it should be fine, but they can also do a little blood test there to check anyway if they were concerned. And I wanted to ask if I could just keep the cannula in and walk around to phlebotomy to then get my bloods done for that week, because I'm due a blood test that week, like just my general monthly ones that I get done, and I don't really want to be scabbed twice. And they said as long as it's in the same day, that's fine. So I now need to find how, because they've changed their system. You have to book now, whereas before it was just like a walk-in clinic. Now you have to book, so I need to find how to book in and see if I can book in for the same day. And also just double checked the numbing cream for cannulating my hand, and they've said that they've made notes and stuff as well for the appointment. So we'll see how that goes. I'm definitely a lot less anxious and worried about it than I have been in the past. I think a lot of that has been down to just now having an understanding of what I don't like about those situations, and feeling able to ask if there's anything that can be done differently, and actually having some knowledge of what options are available. So that's where I'm at the moment. I'm gonna go and try and find the hospital phlebotomy contact details to try and book in for the same day. Ugh. So I couldn't get in contact with anyone in the hospital phlebotomy unit at all. The website makes you sign up with a lot of like really irrelevant details that just makes me feel really weird about signing up to. The phone does not work. If somebody's using the line, you just get bounced back to the switchboard and you have to type in the extension again to be sent back, and then you get bounced back, and that just kept happening, so I hung up. I sent an email last week after the clip I recorded and I've not heard from them at all, so I'm kind of thinking about just booking in with someone at my GP practice and going there after my MRI to get bloods taken from the cannula in my hand, because at least then I know it's definitely going to be done, and I can book in with anyone because it's already in my hand, so hopefully there won't be any issues with that. But yeah, just typical really. You used to just be able to do a walk-in at the phlebotomy unit at the hospital, but they changed it that now you have to book, and now you can't book anything, so it's a pile of shit really. So that's how that has been going. So another update on the MRI and blood test sort of thing. I never got a reply by email. The website wouldn't work for me, so I asked my mum to do it, and you know what? The booking system website just fucking worked. Didn't even need a sign in. Like, you know, mental illness, because why? It's now booked in. I may have just upset the dog, but I now have it booked in for 11:20 at the hospital, so at least it's booked in now. Because I was also due a blood test the same week, so I was like, oh, if I'm allowed to just get the blood test done from the same cannula, that'll be sick. So like I had asked them, but yeah, when I got to the MRI unit on the day and had some conversations with some people, lots of things were just not true, and that is honestly worse. As someone who has been traumatized in medical settings so many times, the worst thing besides actual assault and malpractice is people just bullshitting me as a patient. So the people on the day are very lovely. They've always been so nice to me, and I've always like dealt with my horrendous panic attacks if they've ever had to like cannulate me for anything. But yeah, basically they don't have numbing cream anymore. They don't have it. People kept walking off with it apparently. So whoever I spoke to on the phone, I'm pretty sure it was a radiologist, because that's what the admin person said before they transferred me over to them. Yeah, so this person just lied about that, then also lied about me being able to use the cannula over in phlebotomy. No, you can't do that. Didn't quite grasp why it was a no, but basically it was a no. So those two quite important factors were just like absolutely completely derailed me mentally for a while. After I was told those things, they left me alone for a little while, and I had a little gentle cry into my mask, because they'd had a look at my arm that I'd provided for them and they were just like, not looking great. So yeah, that was really great. I'd wanted to go with my left hand because I have been told that there's a vein like around here, and I have had that vein cannulated before for a surgery in 2019. Yeah, I was told that that's the only other vein that kind of shows itself besides the two in my right elbow, and lots of people really struggle to cannulate or get blood tests done in my right elbow as well now, mainly because of scar tissue, and also it hurts. It's starting to hurt more now because of scar tissue, so I was hoping all would be fine if I just had some numbing cream. The hand wouldn't hurt so much, but no, they could see it but they couldn't feel it, so they didn't feel confident enough to attempt my hand. And also without the numbing cream, they were aware it would be even more painful than I was expecting. So yeah, they then proceeded to attempt my left elbow twice. I have a tiny little bruise like right there, and they attempted over here. That felt really weird. That one felt very, like, they definitely did not get a vein with that one, because it just didn't feel right. I've also got like bruising around here. I'll leave a picture on the screen because it was a little bit better from the picture, from the tourniquet. My God, my tourniquet. Dear God, was it so tight. They were looking at both of my hands as well. That has become a common occurrence, is one person on either arm looking for a vein in MRI. So yeah, 2 failed attempts, and I was like, I still need to get a blood test after this. So someone also mentioned that actually a lot of people said that my veins are very deep. So that's the main problem that they were having, is that they just can't find or see or feel any of my veins. They are very deep. But somebody else had mentioned that actually they can organise to book in MRIs along with an IV nurse whose like whole job is finding veins and stabbing people, who can use an ultrasound to find the veins and cannulate. When I say that you cannot advocate for yourself when you don't know all the information, like, I really mean it, because I have been having issues with blood tests for so long. I have never been told this. Blood tests and cannulation. Nobody has ever said this to me. Nobody has said that. And yeah. So next time I need to either buy numbing cream myself or get a prescription from somebody to have my own numbing cream. I was advised that if I do have my own numbing cream, to put it on for like an hour before I'm due to be stabbed. And also next MRI with cannulation, to organise it on a Thursday morning with an IV nurse. Amazing. I wish people listened to me when I told them I have problems with this. Like, I've just been brushed off so many times as well when I mention this. People just do not believe me when I say how difficult it is and has been for me to get blood tests and to be cannulated. And that's like, there's many different factors in that too. Like, I have been traumatised. I was already a little bit squeamish about that anyway, but I have been traumatised by staff during those situations. And I've just had a lot of problems. The people, like the staff members who are trying to get a blood draw or cannulate me, just really struggle, even if they're super, super nice and do everything right. Like, they've just always struggled. There are still so many doctors and stuff who brush me off about it every time I bring it up, and bring up my worry, concern and hesitance around going in for procedures that involve a cannula, which is why I made that whole post as well earlier this year, in I think early January, about the things that I'd already been planning what I would be doing differently and asking people, and it still wasn't enough because I still didn't know everything. In a lot of medical settings, you need to know the magic words to get anyone to really take your concerns and requests seriously. Like, you need to know what you're asking for. And particularly as an autistic person, I really struggle communicating with people, full stop. But I also really struggle to find the words, and then the ADHD can come in and be like really overwhelmed by all this different information I'm trying to like navigate through. Like, if people were just a lot more upfront about what can we do to make anything easier in a medical setting, and just honestly go through the options and how like easy that is, etc., that would just help so much. But people just don't, and they just go, oh, everybody's human, everybody makes mistakes. And it's like, yeah, I understand that, and I can like logically keep that in mind and compartmentalize things in that, with that as a piece of knowledge. I know, like, yes, I understand everyone's human, but but also when you are the person that everybody seems to fail on and seems to make mistakes on. It becomes a pattern outside of just human error, my love. There are lots of reasons why my veins are not super easy to get to. One of them is that they are very deep, another is because of the anxiety I get around these situations that can make your veins sort of shrink. It can also be down to the weather. If it's hot, you can be dehydrated. If it's cold, your veins shrink to keep you warm and hide further under the surface to keep you warm. Like, I did a whole video on tips for blood tests and cannulation with more of those details on there. I'm trying to work together here. I'm not trying to say everybody's fucking shit at their job. I'm just saying nobody wants to have a conversation with me in how to actually help me as an individual person, patient. And like, I have that problem across the board. And like, it's not just the people sticking needles into me. I am pleased to say I did not have a panic attack, but I was crying. I was very upset and distressed and disappointed. Just felt very let down. And like, I feel like I was able to at least let the other people, like the staff members there, know that, you know, I didn't blame them, and I really think, you know, they've always been so nice and they have succeeded in the past. It's just not getting easier, you know. And it will just keep getting harder as scar tissue develops in more places. We don't really have anything in place either. There's not really anything that can help reduce the scar tissue in this form or capacity. We don't have anything that can help minimize that happening. Like, it just happens, and we don't have anything to help undo that or make it better. You just have to keep looking for different veins in different parts of your body, and it's just an emotional struggle that it feels like right now is the easiest it will ever be, and it's not even like a little bit easy. So yeah, we didn't manage to cannulate for the MRI. I hope that means I won't have to come back to do it again and try again anytime soon, but they think that with the drink alone that they've got clear enough, good enough images to be useful. So I have my fingers crossed for that. I then went round to the phlebotomy unit to have my blood drawn. I mentioned a lot of these things to her as well, and she was like, oh yeah, we wouldn't take blood from a cannula from some other appointment or whatever. And I was like, yeah, if someone had just like told me the truth, said the correct information, I could have and would have organised something else, or like, I don't know, I would have prepared differently for it, but they didn't. And I also want to just say, like I meant to say earlier, but like, when I say somebody lied, I understand that they may not have known the right information, they may not have intentionally lied, but that is how it feels when you are a anxious patient with medical PTSD and you ask very specific questions. That's it. Like, even with all of the right knowledge and right like magic words to ask people, even when you ask people, many people just tell you some shit. They never check if it's true or not or correct. They will just tell you whatever the fuck. And like, apparently that's happened a lot recently in this, I don't know whether it's this department or generally anyone being sent for MRIs recently, but yeah, one of the healthcare assistants in the MRI unit had said that they're gonna have to talk to somebody about this, because they've had several people coming in with the idea that they can either get numbing cream here or use their cannula for a blood test later on and all this sort of thing. So as a patient where this is a very difficult thing to go through and you have to deal with it regularly, it feels like people do not care enough to know the right information to provide you. and it feels like they are lying to you. It feels like they are lazy and do not care enough about patient safety, patient well-being, to provide accurate information on those things. This is what I've said a lot of the times in these kinds of videos. I don't care if that's not how it works. If it's not how it works, I would just rather know, so I can mentally prepare myself or arrange other things and like put things in place as coping mechanisms and measures for me and for my well-being. I feel like as a patient I do so much admin work that shouldn't be my work to do, and then it's still wrong. Hello, welcome to being an autistic in the world, full stop. It just, nothing you do is right. Nothing you say is right, nothing you ask is right, none of the answers you're given is right, and then everything is just fucked. So yeah, and I was just gently weeping in the MRI machine. So hopefully, hopefully the images were good enough. The phlebotomist who I then went to in the hospital, luckily, oh my god, like the one thing that went smoothly was just this phlebotomist who had no issues getting the needle in and the blood out, you know. I was like, thank God, I do not have the capacity for any more bullshit. And she was like, yeah, there is no problem with this one. And I think it was my outer vein here that's a bit deeper, but tends to be the easiest to access and has less scarring on it. And then yeah, that blood test was really important because it was, you know, my usual lot of tests, as well as a test for the mercaptopurine to see if I process mercaptopurine differently to average or whatever. More information on the last video I talked about this about my gastro and stuff. Yeah, things have been a lot this week. That completely wiped me out. I couldn't do anything. I then had to stay next to a toilet for like the rest of the day. My butt hurt. I ate so many pancakes. I also bought myself a vegan shortbread from the hospital's cafe. The vegan shortbread they sell there is £1.50 and it is literally the size of your head. It's humongous. They didn't have any plain, so I had the cherry, which was fine, but I prefer the plain. But I treated myself to that. I had so many pancakes because it was Shrove Tuesday or Pancake Day. And then my blood test results came in. My ESR, which is one of my inflammatory markers, is up a little bit. And I'm like, I'm not surprised, my love. I was very distressed. And then also my liver function tests have continued to rise. They haven't dropped since the one in January. They've risen. So I have lots of questions like that I have sent to my IBD pharmacy. I also was called by my rheumatologist that evening, even though it's not really her place of responsibility anymore. But we know, you know, girl boss, gatekeep, gaslight. She was giving me instructions on what to do. And I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to my IBD pharmacy team first. She just kept telling me what to do. So it was just very annoying because she immediately was like, oh, well, I'm starting to think it was never the mercaptopurine at all. Stop being smug, fuck off. And then was trying to prescribe me 25mg tablets. And I was like, they don't exist. Oh, I'm not really familiar with prescribing mercaptopurine. I was like, well, they're still telling me how to take it, and leave it to the people who do prescribe and deal with it a lot more, because that was the point of me. Like, she knows, she mentioned it too. And yeah, she told me to stop taking it for a week and then drop the dose. I was just like, no. So yeah, I emailed my IBD pharmacy team to say, hey, the results show that my liver enzymes are up again, or up more than last time. Here are my concerns and my thoughts. My current thoughts and ideas are that one option is I didn't take a break after my last blood test in January. I just went straight to a lower dose, and usually I have a break of a few days to a week off mercaptopurine entirely to allow my liver enzyme levels to drop to closer to normal, but I didn't do that. So that's one of my thoughts. Another one is, it could be the steroids. I have been on them for nearly like 3 years in June. I was on a high dose and tapering down around the time that a lot of these issues started. And then also my cotrimoxazole, which is a preventative antibiotic that I have been taking since around that time as well. But I don't think it's completely separate from mercaptopurine, because the blood tests show a very clear pattern around increasing the dose above 50 micrograms with a rise in my liver enzyme tests, and the next month it will drop after taking a break and going back to 50, and then it will rise again when I up the dose again. The only pattern change is literally this month, where instead of going down it's gone up, which is why I think maybe the break that I didn't have last time may have had an impact. But yeah, right now I'm just waiting for the IBD pharmacy team to actually respond properly to anything and answer my questions and take what I've said into consideration. I have decided to come off the mercaptopurine for a week just to give my body a break and see if that may have an impact as well. We won't be getting results for how my body processes mercaptopurine, the blood tests, for a few weeks, which is not helpful. Nobody said that. Yeah, I'm just waiting to see what other people decide to tell me to do from here. Back to sort of the general MRI stuff again. My tips for MRIs is finding your MRI outfits. No metal is basically the gist. I have a lot of comfy non-metal clothing. Obviously I have to take out my nose ring. We have lockers at our MRI unit, so you don't have to worry too much. You can just put everything in a locker and you have the key, but other units are not like that. Each unit is different, or some units are actually like a, not portable, but like they're basically like an MRI on a truck that can be driven around. Yeah, they don't really have lockers on those. I remember doing one of them once. It was quite weird. MRIs are cold, so depending on the weather as well, it's quite nice in the summer. So you can go in like summer clothes and have like quite a nice like AC like break from horrific summer weather. In the winter, obviously you're fucking cold, so that's why I tend to like recommend or go for joggers or leggings and wearing a jumper and stuff like that, and thick warm socks. I also recommend slip-on shoes just so you don't have to faff taking your shoes off and putting them on and that sort of thing. I've made a couple of TikToks on like MRI outfits for the time of year, so if I ever find them again I will post them on YouTube as shorts and sort of connect them to this video, or generally to some of my disability playlists. May make an MRI playlist itself now, because this is the second long form video I will have made on MRIs. I personally do not have any issues with claustrophobia, but it is quite a tight tube. I tend to close my eyes and like have a nap, you know, like that's my vibe for most MRIs that don't involve a cannula. There's a lot of like checking about cannulas and the drugs that come in. You've got tick sheets as well, and it does say on those sort of like tick sheets when to ring up to ask or like confirm questions, because I have a very old history of kidney problems when I was a child. I've not really been asked that question before, but that tends to come along with, I think, the contrast. You can have contrast and other things through the cannula for other MRIs as well. Like I said, I had contrast for my aorta, and I think they were gonna use contrast anyway for the thymus gland. That was a 2-in-1 for me. Every hospital and every department is different as well. A lot of hospitals have slightly different like variations of the MRI, like small bowel diet and things like that, so try your best to follow your own hospital's directions. I don't know why they vary, but they apparently do. Yeah, some of them you're allowed to pee beforehand as well. Like I was actually allowed to pee beforehand. I thought you weren't supposed to pee because it was supposed to like expand all of your like insides to make the photos easier, but they did let me pee in the end. It's because I'd sat there so long crying that I was like, oh actually I really need to pee, I don't think I can hold it. For small bowel MRIs as well, you lay on your front, which can be really uncomfortable, especially if you've got a cannula in your elbow. You tend to be laying like the Superman, something like this, And then you also have all MRIs give you a little like squeezy thing if you are having any issues or need to like get out or whatever. But I also, yeah, I found out recently that not all hospitals / MRI units provide in-ear earplugs and over-the-head headphones to protect you from the MRI noise. And it also seems like they don't tell you to bring your own or anything like that. So yeah, if it's not mentioned, I would definitely recommend calling to ask about it and preparing by finding some like foam area ones at least, because it is loud in there. Like the only reason why it doesn't bother me like really and I can close my eyes and kind of fall asleep is because I have always been given the inner ear ones and the overhead headphones. Some places will even like ask if you want the radio playing. It seems to depend, sometimes it doesn't work, but yeah, like those are options available as well. Very wild, because that's just such a small and simple like access thing and just patient well-being thing, that when I found out through a friend of mine who had an awful experience because they didn't have fucking earphones and headphones to protect their ears from the noise. And you have to be really still in MRIs. You can't just suddenly like flinch or like grab your ears, and sometimes there's no space to do that, or your arms are underneath the cage that they put over you to keep you still. Yeah, lots of things that you don't know what you don't know. And that's why I try to make these videos, is to give you as much information as possible, even if you've been to an MRI before. Like I've had loads of fucking MRIs and half of this stuff I didn't know. Hopefully I can help give you the information you need to avoid some of the bullshit that I've been through, or avoid some of the bullshit that you've been through happening again. It has been mentioned in the past to me possibly getting cannulated elsewhere as well by a trusted phlebotomist. This was mentioned to me about and for PET scans. But again, if phlebotomy don't allow the same cannula being used to take blood within the same hospital, I don't know how accurate that is either. But it's another thing that is worth asking. If you have a phlebotomist that you trust who could cannulate you, it's definitely worth asking. Not all MRIs make you starve either, so this is just a small, well, there might be others that do, but for me, the small bowel MRI is the main one, and they're just like, no, you're never allowed to eat again. I also took diazepam that morning at 2 different times. I have got a like semi-repeat prescription for diazepam in the case of using it for procedures. Basically, I have had such a bad time with procedures that yeah, I've basically been given a repeat prescription for diazepam so I can take it before I have different kinds of procedures and testing done. If that doesn't tell you I have been traumatized and had a bad time, I don't know what does. So yeah, again, if you've had a really bad time, it is worth having that conversation if you have a trusted doctor or health professional, because yeah, my main guy, my GP, is a solid dude, so helpful and very understanding, and we have like I feel like we have a mutual trust. Like I feel like he understands that I'm not asking for things that I don't need, you know. I also brought my mum. I brought my mum with me. Some hospitals are allowing you to bring a person with you, so another recommendation for the list is to bring someone to support you. Help. Yeah, that's kind of it. It's kind of it. That's kind of what I've got on MRIs in general, my experience this time, things I learned this time. I hope this was helpful. If there's anything that I didn't mention that you know can be a thing as well, leave comments down below. Share the info. Make the comment section a space where we can share like useful tips and tricks and phrases that we normal people just won't know of until some medical professional said it, you know. Leave a like on the video, will help the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of me, more videos of me talking about my medical trauma and how to do your best to avoid medical trauma. This is not my first rodeo. Not the first video I've made on this kind of topic at all. There are so many, I've made so many, and I'm sure I will continue to make more. I think my last one sort of on this topic was specifically cervical screenings. So if you would like to check that one out, I do recommend that one, especially for people who have either had a bad experience or are nervous about their first experience, because it is important to go. It is important to go. But I know it's awful. Personal experience, I know it's fucking awful and very scary and kind of gross. Bodies are gross. Why must I live in this flesh vessel, you know? But that's it from me this week. I do think I definitely didn't come out of this as horrifically traumatized as I have been in the past. I did come out relatively unscathed. I'm not saying it again. But it was shitty in the moment, you know. It did suck when it was happening. Yeah. But yeah, that's it from me. And I will see you. I'll see you next week. Bye.